we need to join a series of strips to create the background for our jungle quilt. We've got a jelly roll, and it's got a batik jelly roll in emeralds or forest colours. So we want to determine our right side of our fabrics, and to make a join, it's right sides together. As you can see, we're forming a 45-degree angle. A 90-degree angle. Now we're going to draw a 45-degree angle from point to point, which we're then going to stitch. I'm just using a chalk pen. Pin that into position, and then we're going to stitch along this line. Once that line is stitched, and we're happy with the angle, once we're happy with that angle, we're going to trim that fabric off. And I've trimmed back to 1/4 of an inch because it's batik and it's a little bit thicker. It's very hard to open up, though. You can see I struggle to open that seam up. So a wider seam allowance might be better. But I do like to persevere with a 1/4 inch seam because it's less recognisable and less bulk. We are going to continue this until we have enough strips to make our piece of fabric. And that will determine on how wide or long you want to make your quilt top. Even though I've finger pressed those seams open, a light press with some steam keeps them open and makes them a little bit more flat. The 45-degree angle means that when the pieces are joined, there's no bulk sitting on top of each other. So here we are, we're joining strips. Now all I'm doing is using a walking foot with a 1/4 inch foot on the walking foot, and then joining strip by strip by strip. I've already measured out the lengths I want. I know how many lengths I want to create my piece of fabric. So I've cut my lengths of joined batik strips to a particular measurement, and now I'm joining them together to make my fabric back. Normally when we do floating quilts, we have our lines horizontal, but because it's going to be jungle and trees, having a vertical joins and seams just gives you an impression of jungle and depth and tree trunks and foresting. It's a clever effect. The whole idea is to find that our joins, our 45-degree angle joins, are not in a row. They're all staggered and stepped accordingly. We don't want to have a row of joins, and so sometimes it might be necessary to turn the strip upside down so as that the join is at the bottom rather than being at the top. It just really depends. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. I'm not pinning this because I've got a guide on my foot, and my walking foot will allow the seam to join nicely without any puckering. So once you get so far, you need to measure and work out how wide you want your work to be. So it's just a matter of joining the strips in row to row to row. Right, now I'm almost there. I know by the time I've got my seams pressed, now it's going to be slightly wider. So I'm just checking to make sure that I've got no puckering or anything happening, which I haven't. I'm also checking to see that I haven't got too many staggered lines joining together as well. So I've got some steps. I don't want a line going across. That's not what I want. I want to have those angled joins staggered. Now we've got to take our time with this because we're going to be pressing our seams all to one direction. So I'm pressing them, these ones I'm pressing all to the left-hand side. There's no reason why I couldn't have pressed them to the right-hand side. It's just I find that easier being a right-handed person. We wouldn't normally open those seams up. We would press them in one direction. Right, so we do them in sections. Because once we've done this, we will actually then go to our front side and press again. lots of steam. Try and keep those seam joins open as well while we're doing this. Very easy to get them closed, and then they create a little bit of bulk. So from our right side, spread it out with your hands and then press from the top. Right, we need to press our batting. Just lowered my iron down a little bit. Plenty of steam. Just get any creases or fold marks out of our batting because they will show through. And then we want to lay our top onto the batting. I've created my batting bigger by a couple of inches either side and either end. Once I have that in place, sitting nice and flat, I will pin along one edge. See, I've pinned along that edge, the straight edge. You can draw a line with a ruler if you wish to keep it straight. And then we're going to roll back the other joins and we're going to sew just inside that seam allowance that we've made as a join with a longer stitch. When I say a longer stitch, a 3.5, nothing too tight. So we're going to stitch every second seam to the batting. Just make sure and use a walking foot for this because it really, really helps. Take your time. I'm stitching just to the right hand side of my original row of stitching. So I'm doing this, as I said, every second row we will do the same thing. Okay, let's get that flat. Put that under the foot, that's I've got here. Keep it flat and pin in the middle. Making a mistake, I'm pinning too close to that seam, it means I'm going to pull that pin out. So I decided that was a good idea until I went to stitch it because I forgot that my walking foot is quite wide. So normally I would put a pin in the middle of that seam, not so close to the seam line itself. It would be much easier to turn around and put it on a table and actually do this. I'm probably putting my pins in horizontally rather than along with the seam may be a better idea. However, let's see how we go. Right, that's in place. And let's start stitching on the right hand side. Now I can feel that pin, so I've got to go in there and pull that pin out, which is a nuisance. So here we have a few rows done. A much better idea. Putting it onto the table, putting my seam, my pins in horizontally to the seam, bring it back so as I don't want to be hitting this. Bring that back and then sewing along that seam again, like so. So that would be sewn along that seam. So we do every second one. If you wanted to have more control and don't want to rely on your walking foot, you may not have a walking foot, pinning along the seam like this actually is a really good idea. Some people would just prefer to actually spray baste to the batting and then stitch in the ditch. It does not matter. So this way of actually following your pins, you don't have to use a walking foot if you do this way. Depends on what your machine you've got, depends on what degree of feeding your machine does when you're dealing with batting and fabric. I can't imagine quilting without a walking foot, but then they are such an expense if they need to be an accessory, so I understand not having one. So we're going to repeat that process with the next one and the next one. Then finally, when we get to the end, we're just going to stitch down the length of the raw edges. Just 1/4 of an inch in from the edge, just so as we can trim this up and the work stays tidy and we haven't got any pieces of or strips flapping about. See my nice even rows. No puckering, very easy.